Silencing the mind, it is something we all long for. In this modern world, our minds are busier than ever, filled with plans, worries, comparisons, and endless streams of thought. Even when we rest, thoughts continue to move like waves that never stop breaking. We read, we listen, we seek comfort in so many ways, yet the silence we long for often feels just beyond our reach. But silence, Ramana Maharshi reminds us, is not something far away. It is not hidden in a remote cave, nor found only through years of effort. It is here, beneath the surface of every thought, quietly present in this very moment. In my last video, we explored his teaching on silencing the mind, how peace is not achieved by force, but revealed when the mind returns to its source. Today, we go deeper. We explore his most direct and powerful method, the practice of self-inquiry. This practice revolves around a single, simple question: who am I? At first, this question may sound philosophical, even abstract, but to Ramana, it was not theory. It was a living doorway. It is a way of turning inward, away from the noise of thought and toward the silent awareness in which all thoughts arise. He taught that if we can trace every thought back to its root, to the sense of I, then the restless mind dissolves naturally. And in that dissolution, the silence we have been seeking is revealed as our true nature. So let us walk together through this practice, not as an idea to believe in, but as a living experiment in awareness. Because this simple question, who am I, has the power to open the deepest silence within you. The human mind is always moving. Even when the body is still, thoughts race in all directions, toward the future, back to the past, into imagination, fear, and memory. It is like a restless monkey, jumping from branch to branch, never content to stay in one place. From morning until night, we are caught in this movement. We wake up, and before our feet even touch the floor, thoughts begin.
What do I need to do today? What happened yesterday? Will things go my way? The mind never stops speaking. And we call this thinking me. Most of us try to find peace by controlling or soothing the mind. We meditate, we pray, we read, we breathe deeply, and for a few moments, the surface becomes calm. But soon another wave of thought arises, and the stillness disappears. Ramana Maharshi pointed out that this happens because most practices deal only with the surface of the mind, not the root. It is like trimming the branches of a tree while leaving the trunk untouched. The leaves grow back, and the movement begins again. He said that every thought, no matter what its content, arises from a single source, the sense of I. Every thought begins with I. I am angry. I am happy. I am worried. I am remembering. I am planning. All these thoughts depend on the feeling I am. If you follow a thought back to its source, back to the sense of I, you are tracing it to its root. And when you reach the root, the thought itself dissolves. What remains is the silent awareness that gives rise to all experience. Ramana Maharshi explained that self-inquiry is the most direct way to reach this root. Other practices may bring temporary peace, but self-inquiry goes straight to the heart of the problem, the belief that I am the mind. When we question that belief, the illusion begins to weaken. It's not about suppressing thoughts or fighting with them. It's about seeing their nature clearly, how each one begins with the same seed, I. Imagine the mind as a movie screen filled with countless moving images. The pictures change, the stories play, the emotions rise and fall, but the screen itself remains untouched. Self-inquiry helps us turn our attention away from the movie and back to the screen, the silent background that never changes. Why self-inquiry? Because it is the shortest path home. Instead of trying to fix each thought or emotion, we return to the one who experiences them all. And as attention rests in that silent witness, peace is revealed. When a thought arises, pause, not with force, but with gentle curiosity, and ask, "To whom has this thought come?" The answer will appear on its own. To me. Then turn further inward and ask, "Who am I?" Do not look for words or ideas. Let attention sink into the one who is aware. Rest there, even for a few seconds, in quiet presence. To make this real in your daily life, it helps to move slowly. Begin by letting the body settle. Sit or stand naturally, allowing the breath to move on its own. The shoulders soften, the eyes relax, the jaw loosens. You aren't trying to get anywhere. You are simply becoming available to notice what is already here. Then, notice whatever is present. Perhaps it's a thought, an emotion, a memory, or a subtle feeling of unease. Whatever appears is enough. Don't label or judge it. Just become aware that something is arising in you. Now gently turn the light of attention around and ask, "To whom has this come?" Feel the answer. To me. Don't analyze the me. Don't describe it. Simply acknowledge it. Then ask again, "Who am I?" Let the question point back toward the one who is aware. It's not an intellectual search. It's an inward turning, like a wave returning to the ocean. After asking, simply rest. Don't strain. Don't expect anything special. Just allow the mind to settle naturally. Even a few moments of effortless stillness are enough. This is not suppression or escape. It's returning home. You can begin to explore this in ordinary moments. For example, when anger arises, you can notice it without judgment. You pause and ask, "To whom has this anger come?" The answer, "To me." Then you ask, "Who am I?" As attention turns inward, the story that fed the anger begins to fade. The raw energy of emotion softens, and you may find yourself resting in calm awareness. When worry arises, the same method applies. The mind may start to build endless scenarios, imagining future troubles. But you stop and ask, "To whom has this worry come?" The answer again, "To me." Then, who am I? The movement of worry loses power, and what remains is the quiet awareness that was there before the thought began. When desire arises, the pull towards something, the wanting of approval or pleasure, you can pause again. To whom has this desire come? To me. Who am I? By turning inward this way, you begin to notice that every thought, every feeling, every reaction depends on this sense of me. And when you look directly at this me, it cannot be found as an object. Only awareness remains. After asking, "Who am I?" you may feel a moment of stillness, a subtle openness without words. Stay there. Don't try to hold on to it. If another thought arises, simply begin again. The power lies not in forcing silence, but in returning gently to the source, again and again. Ramana Maharshi reminded seekers that self-inquiry is not meant to be repeated mechanically like a mantra. It's not about repeating, "Who am I?" over and over. The question is not a formula. It is a doorway. Ask once, sincerely, then let awareness follow the question inward. Ask again only when a new thought arises and captures your attention. If thoughts come endlessly, don't be discouraged. Each time, gently trace them back. The practice is not about stopping thoughts instantly. It's about remembering to turn inward again and again until the habit of returning to the self becomes natural. When dullness or sleepiness comes, you can open your eyes, take a slow, easy breath, or shift your posture slightly. This isn't a rigid meditation, it's an alive attention. If you ever feel strain, relax a little more. Effort creates a new kind of noise. Self-inquiry is delicate and effortless, like watching the tide come in and out. You may begin to notice a quiet sense of "I am," a presence that exists before thoughts, before words, before identity. Sometimes it feels like a soft awareness behind the eyes, or a peaceful stillness in the chest. Wherever you
Sense it. Rest your attention there. Let it be tender and natural. You can practice this anywhere, anytime. At a red light, you can pause and ask once, "To whom has this waiting come? Who am I?" When a message arrives that stirs emotion, pause before replying and ask, "To whom has this feeling come? Who am I?" When you walk through a doorway, use it as a small reminder, "Who am I?" When you unlock your phone, just one breath of inward turning. These small moments, scattered through your day, begin to weave silence into everything you do. You can also try a short guided practice. Sit as you are. Let the breath move freely. Notice one thought that's here, maybe a word, an image, or a sensation. Ask softly, "To whom has this come?" Feel the response, "To me." Now ask, "Who am I?" Let attention fold back toward the one who is aware. Don't look for words or images. Just rest in the clear space that remains. If another thought appears, welcome it, and again ask, "To whom has this come? Who am I?" In this way, even a few breaths can reveal a deep peace that's been here all along. If you want a simple rhythm to keep the practice alive, in the morning, sit quietly for a few minutes and do this inquiry each time a thought appears. During the day, pause 3 or 4 times, maybe before meals or while waiting, and take 1 or 2 inward turns. In the evening, before sleep, recall one strong emotion from the day. Slowly bring it to mind and ask, "To whom has this come? Who am I?" See how the feeling softens when the owner of it is questioned. As you practice, certain patterns may appear. Sometimes the mind races and refuses to settle. When that happens, don't chase every thought. Just take one thought at a time. Ask once, rest, then move to the next. Sometimes emotions feel too strong to question. In those moments, feel the body first. Notice the breath, the heartbeat, the warmth in the chest, then gently inquire. The grounding will make the question alive again. At times, you may not even feel a clear sense of I. That's perfectly fine. The inquiry works even when the I cannot be found, because what remains is simple awareness. The very noticing that I cannot be located is a glimpse of the self itself. If the mind starts analyzing, return to the felt sense. Place a hand on the chest, feel the breath, and ask once more, "Who am I?" The simplicity of feeling cuts through the web of concepts. You will know the practice is deepening not by visions or mystical experiences, but by the quiet changes in ordinary life. The space between reaction and awareness will grow. Thoughts will feel lighter. You'll find less need to finish every story the mind begins. A natural calm will begin to appear, even in the middle of activity. These are signs that attention is learning its way home. This is the heart of the practice, not to force silence, but to rest as the awareness that is already silent. One gentle loop, many times a day, slowly turns the habit of outward chasing into the ease of being what you truly are. At first, the mind may resist. When you begin to practice self-inquiry, thoughts can appear to grow louder. The mind doesn't easily surrender its habit of movement. It may try to pull you back into stories, plans, and memories. But that's all right. You don't have to win a battle. You only need to notice. Every time a thought arises and you ask, "To whom has this come?" you are already breaking the chain. Each moment of returning inward weakens the old habit of outward chasing. It's like gently redirecting a stream back toward its source. You do not force the water upstream, you only guide it slowly, patiently. Over time, you begin to sense a change. The mind still produces thoughts, but they no longer carry you away so easily. You start to recognize them the instant they arise. They lose their power to dominate your attention. A kind of spaciousness opens up between you and your thoughts. You feel less like the thinker and more like the silent witness, watching.
Thoughts come and go. In this space, even emotions begin to transform. Anger still visits, but it passes more quickly. Fear may arise, but it no longer feels like your entire being is trembling. Desire still appears, but it doesn't drag you around. You notice it arise, and you notice it fade. It's like watching clouds drift across the open sky. You remain as the sky itself, untouched. Ramana Maharshi used a beautiful image for this. He said the mind is like a thief who sneaks into a house when the lights are off. If you try to chase the thief into the darkness, you lose sight of him. But if you stay still and switch on the light, the thief disappears on his own. In the same way, when you turn attention inward, the light of awareness, the thief of thought cannot survive. It dissolves in that clear seeing. As you continue, the moments of stillness grow longer. The mind may fall silent for a few seconds, then for a minute, then perhaps longer. And when that silence comes, it is not dull or empty. It is alive, radiant, peaceful. It feels like coming home after a long journey. You begin to realize that silence is not something you create. It was always here. Thoughts were only movements passing across it. The mind, in its restlessness, had covered it up, just as clouds cover the sun. But the sun was shining all along. This is one of the most profound shifts that happens through self-inquiry. You stop trying to get rid of thoughts. You see that thoughts are not the problem. They are just temporary waves. The real discovery is that you are not the waves. You are the ocean itself. When this insight begins to settle, even ordinary life starts to feel lighter. You may find yourself doing the same daily tasks, walking, cooking, working, talking, but there's more space inside them. The inner noise softens. The world moves, but you rest in stillness. Sometimes the silence will come unexpectedly. You may be looking at the sky, hearing the wind, or even listening to someone speak, and
suddenly, everything becomes still. The boundaries between you and what you see blur, and for a brief moment, there is only awareness. You might call it peace, love, presence, or simply silence. But words can't describe it fully. It's the same stillness that Ramana lived in, the same silence that shines through his gaze in old photographs. At first, these glimpses may come and go, but Ramana said, if you stay with the self will stay with you. The more you return to this silence, the more it becomes your natural resting place. Slowly, you begin to notice that silence is not a state you enter. It's the background of all states. It is what you are. Even when the mind moves, even when you speak or act, that silence remains underneath, steady and alive. You might find that you no longer crave silence as something separate from sound, or meditation as something apart from life. Everything begins to flow together. The sound of birds, the hum of traffic, the rhythm of breathing, all part of one seamless awareness. And in this deepening stillness, fear begins to dissolve. The old questions that used to trouble you, about the future, about purpose, about identity, lose their urgency. The mind becomes quiet, not because you force it, but because it finally rests. You discover that silence does not mean the absence of life. It means being fully alive without being disturbed. It is not an escape from the world, it is freedom in the midst of the world. This is what happens next. Not fireworks, not visions, but a soft return to what was never lost. A deep simplicity where the seeker disappears and only being remains. The mind may still make noise, the world may still move, but within you there is a center that never moves. And from that still center, peace radiates into everything you do. Many seekers asked Ramana practical questions about this method. Some said, should I repeat, "Who am I?" like a mantra, again and again? He answered no. This is not about repeating words. It is about investigation. Each time a thought arises, turn attention inward. Others asked, what if thoughts keep coming endlessly? He said, do not be discouraged. Each time, ask again, to whom has this thought come? Trace it back. The practice is not to stop thoughts immediately, but to turn inward again and again until the mind grows quiet by itself. Some said, can this be practiced in daily life, while working, caring for family, or in busy places? Ramana replied, yes. The self is always present. You can turn inward anywhere, at any time. As self-inquiry deepens, something subtle begins to change in the way you move through life. You start to see that this practice is not limited to the moments when you sit quietly with closed eyes. It is not confined to meditation or retreat. It begins to flow naturally into every part of your day, like water finding its way into every crack and corner. At first, you may feel that you need to create special conditions for silence. Early in the morning, in a quiet room, away from noise and distraction. But gradually you begin to see that the silence you touch in meditation does not depend on where you are. The stillness is not in the outer setting. It is in you. As you walk, you may notice that each step happens in awareness. As you speak, you may sense that words are rising from the same still space that holds silence. As you listen, you may feel that behind every sound there is a vast quiet that never leaves. You begin to realize that you do not have to leave the world to live in silence. You can live right here, in the middle of ordinary life, and still be anchored in peace. Ramana Maharshi lived this truth perfectly. His life was simple, but it was not withdrawn. He cooked, He cared for animals. He walked the paths around Arunachala, and he met hundreds of people every day. His hands were busy, but his mind was still. His heart was always open, his words few, his presence calm. He showed that silence is not
Inaction. True silence is not the absence of doing. It is the absence of ego in doing. It is action flowing from the stillness of the self, without pride, without fear, without attachment to result. When you begin to live from this place, you notice that even ordinary tasks, washing dishes, preparing food, driving, sending a message, can become a meditation. They are no longer chores done by you. They simply happen. The sense of a separate doer begins to fade, replaced by a quiet joy in the simplicity of being. In this way, self-inquiry becomes more than a question. It becomes a way of living. You no longer need to stop and ask, "Who am I?" every moment, because the answer begins to shine by itself. The mind grows more silent. The feeling of I becomes more transparent. Actions arise naturally, without conflict. Even emotions, which once seemed heavy or overwhelming, begin to pass through easily. You might feel sadness, joy, excitement, or fatigue, but deep down, you remain undisturbed. There is something within you that does not move. That unmoving presence, pure awareness, is what Ramana called the self. Living this way does not mean rejecting the world or pretending that pain does not exist. It means allowing life to flow through you without resistance. When joy comes, you welcome it. When sorrow comes, you allow it. You do not cling to either. You simply remain as the silent witness through it all. Over time, you start to see that the boundary between meditation and daily life disappears. There is only life unfolding in stillness. When you eat in awareness. When you work in awareness. When you rest in awareness. Silence begins to accompany you everywhere, like a gentle hum behind all activity. This does not make you detached or cold. In fact, the opposite happens. You become more compassionate, more sensitive, more alive. Because you no longer live through the filters of ego, you see others more clearly. Their joy feels like your joy.
Their pain feels like your pain. Yet even as you feel deeply, you remain centered, unshaken, like a tree whose roots reach deep into the earth. Ramana once said, "The wise man looks with the same eye upon all beings." This is what happens when silence becomes your way of living. You see unity where the mind used to see division. You respond with love instead of reaction, with understanding instead of judgment. In this silent way of being, work continues, relationships continue, the body continues its natural rhythm, but something essential has shifted. The sense of ownership has fallen away. There is action, but no actor, movement, but no mover. Life lives itself through you, effortlessly. At times, you may still lose touch with this silence. The mind may pull you into its stories. The emotions may feel strong. But the difference now is that you know how to return. You know where home is. One breath, one simple inward turn, and you're back in that quiet awareness. Living the practice means remembering again and again that silence is not something you visit. It is something you are. It's the still background that holds every sound, every thought, every feeling. It was here before this day began, and it will remain when the day ends. When you begin to live from this recognition, everything you do carries a different quality. Your words become softer, your gestures slower, your choices more simple. You no longer rush toward peace, because peace is already here. This is what it means to live the teaching of Ramana Maharshi.
not to withdraw from the world, but to move through it with the stillness of one who has seen that there is no separation between silence and life. Let us close with a short reflection. Right now, notice the thoughts in your mind. Whatever they are, pause and ask, to whom has this thought come? The answer, to me. Then ask, who am I? Rest in the stillness that follows. Do not expect words or images. Simply notice the silence, the awareness in which everything appears. This is the practice Ramana Maharshi called the direct path. Simple, practical, available to each of us in every moment.